Hey everybody, Tom Balator here with a quick overview of my Zoom setup. It's that time of year again, classes are starting. At the end of the class, invariably students, other teachers are like, hey Tom, how do you make that background blur like that? Or why is your voice so clear? And I figured it's best to just put that into a short 15-20 minute video to explain how I get this set up. Okay, definitely better ones out there and definitely worse ones. So hopefully this will get you into a better place if that's what you're looking for. Okay, 3 things I'm going to do today. First, I'm going to do a very quick 2-minute or so overview of the general setup that I have. Then what I'm going to do is take my phone and walk around and show you the different pieces of equipment, just so you put it in better perspective. And the third, what I'm going to do is go through some websites showing the equipment and the actual names and the links that you might want to use to emulate what you're seeing right here. All right, so let's see. First thing first is what I'm doing, like this sort of look that you see where the background is blurred and the voice is pretty clear, the lighting is decent, whether it's midnight or noon, same lighting. How do I achieve that? How do I achieve what I was always trying to achieve? What I could do in a classroom is to make a connection with students, trying to make it look as real as possible. How do I do that? Well, 5 important things here. The first one, by far the most important thing, has nothing to do with equipment. It has to do with your attitude and the way that you're actually speaking and the way you're actually looking. So I'm looking at you right now, right? Now, you're not in this room. You are not in this time. You're in the future in a different place. So I'm looking through that lens, but I can convince myself somehow I'm actually talking to somebody. Okay, if you can't do that, try to be able to do that because it's really important. Now, if you're in a live Zoom session with students, of course they're not in the same room, right? But they will be synchronous. So maybe it's a little bit easier to do that. But definitely this idea of looking at people, sometimes it's a little creepy in real life if I'm staring at you like right now, and actually I'm feeling kind of a little creeped out, so I'm gonna look away for a second. But nevertheless, it's okay here, right? You can look away if you want. But nevertheless, looking right through that lens is a really important thing and trying to make a connection. And also having something interesting to say is really super important. But the key thing for this sort of depth of field where, and people will ask me like, is that background real? And I'm usually grab the marmot, who they think is a beaver. There's a story behind this guy. Take my coding class if you want to listen about that. And they're like, whoa, it's real. How do I get that effect? And how does it make me pop? And why is the mic like this? The key thing here for the visuals, I would say, is the camera. It's a DSLR, a digital single lens reflex camera. It's like a regular looking professional camera. Now mine costs probably like $2,500 or so. You can get one, on sale for a couple $100, and I'll walk through that later on. They're not that expensive. You also have to have a decent lens on it. I use a 50mm lens. That just happens to be just about right for what the human eye would be seeing if the human, you, were where my camera is right now. So it kind of looks natural in that sense. Okay, so I will show you all those details later. The mic, yeah, I'm using this thing called a Shure SM7B. You've seen it on podcasts. You probably haven't seen this like really lame DIY, like broken off pen stuck in the bottom so that it's mounted right in front of my face thing. But the reason I do that is I don't like that big old boom coming in, like that DJ setup where I'll have like headphones on and like, hey, welcome to the studio sort of voice. That's good in a lot of situations. It's just not me. And the whole point of this situation is I'm me here, right? Just like I am in a classroom, but happens to be online. Okay. So I find that having the mic here sort of out of the way is best for me. Okay. We'll talk about lighting with the iPhone. Those are the main points here. Oh, and one other thing I will talk about is the earpiece. Really good sound requires that the room you're in is quiet, and that includes students' voices, anybody else's voices coming from your computer. They can't be getting into your mic. No matter how good Zoom is at like blocking those out, it's going to be eating away at the sound that you are producing through here. So talk about earpieces too. Okay, so that's a general overview of this. Oh, by the way, very quickly about the lighting here. What time is it? It's 2:56 p.m. right now. Okay, if it were 2:56 a.m., it would look identical. Okay, natural sunlight is just awesome to use, right? And I've got these 2 windows right here I'll be showing you in a second. I love them. And when it's about noon or so and the nice indirect light is flooding in, it looks great. But you know what? A cloud comes by and all the settings are messed up. The color's different, the exposure's lost. just can't follow the sun, you know, and some days are rainy, right? Some days are cloudy, some days are snowy. But nevertheless, what I've tried to do here with this lighting is set up sort of a faux sun, if you will. So I imitate just natural light coming in. Okay? All right, so let's do this. I'm looking at my phone right now. I'm not ignoring you or checking my email, but I'm going to go to my camera. Here we go. And I'm going to switch over here in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so this is what I was looking at. So there's the camera I've been talking about. That's that Canon, oh, and my voice will be changing, right? Obviously it'll sound different, but that's the Canon Canon 5D Mark IV, okay? And there's that nice lens on front. I'll walk up in a second. I have a monitor right there as well as my regular computer right here, okay? Now, why do I do that? I teach coding, and it's really awesome to be able to type right here on my regular computer, because that's what my fingers are used to. And it's really nice to have all my code and all my slides and everything right here. And all my students, well, there's only one in this Zoom meeting because, well, I'm just doing this through Zoom to show you what it sounds like and looks like in Zoom. But nevertheless, I'll have a panel of people right here. And then I can see them. I'll usually have a chat on the side or something. And that's just nice, okay? So you don't need an extra monitor, but it's really hard to juggle things on just one small monitor. And also, the eye line here. Let me hold this to the side here. Hey everybody, what's up? So you can get an idea about the lights right there. You can get an idea where I'm at. And that camera is pretty much right on my eyes. I'm a little bit higher than it maybe in the frame of the camera because it's pointed down a little bit, but nevertheless, I'm pretty much looking straight ahead at the camera. And that's important because, well, I'm talking about making eye contact, right? And if I were to have all my code down here, well, that would be a little bit difficult. By the way, did you just hear the dog bark? You probably didn't. Let me talk about the mic, because this is a really nice mic to block that. And if you did hear the dog bark, well, the mic's not doing its job. Actually, I'll step back here for a second to give you the whole scene. Yeah, so this room, actually it sounds different over here. I don't know if you hear that on my iPhone or not, but I've got a lot of books. I like books. I've got a little carpet down here. But over here, it's pretty dead space in terms of sound. So I think the sound is pretty good. The mic here, this is another DIY thing here, right? Where I've got this sort of lamp stand that hooks onto here to a Serape I bought in Tijuana when I was 10. Favorite blankie. Anyway, and then I put my mic in there, and it's kind of locked in place, pretty strong right there. The trouble with this setup is that any sort of thumping, and I'll try to play the mic for you later on that one, you'll hear that through there. So you got to be careful with bashing your table around. Also, the camera over there, I haven't mentioned it, it's on a tripod. And that's so that I don't shake the camera on the table, which I often shake the table by mistake. Okay, so a lot of things here. Let me actually go over to the camera first. Okay, let's see here. So first of all, the lens itself. This is a 50 millimeter lens. This is a Canon 1.2, what is it called? L something. I'll give you details on that later. It's a really nice lens. It's a little bit expensive. There's much cheaper, almost equivalent things, especially if you're going through Zoom. You won't see any difference. The camera itself, I had mentioned the name before. That's a Canon EOS 5D Mark IV. And the settings right here, I should probably have a different video on this later on, but the key point right here for that blurry background is 4.0. That's the f-stop. So if I twist this around a little bit, and you won't see this on this camera, but I'll hold this camera right here. This one is crystal clear, the background right now. But if I turn this, it's got a lot brighter, but the focus should be even blurrier in the back. It was at 2.8 just then. And now if I go from 4 up to, let's say, 5.6 to 6.3, it should be a lot sharper. Okay, the focal point is still where my body is. Now I'm back to 4.0 right there. Nevertheless, that plane, that focal plane, whoa, aha, look at that. My camera's not even focused. It's focused on something closer. And actually, here, I can show you the focal plane right here. Right now, I'm focused on basically the camera, and the background is blurry. If I touch up here, the background is in focus and the foreground is blurry. And there's an intermediate point somewhere, like when I normally go on my mic, in which the camera and the background will be blurry. It's not as obvious with the iPhone, because the iPhone is doing a lot of other compensations to make sure that things are in focus. But with that camera, I can control that, okay? Let's talk briefly about another part of how we link the camera with the computer. I've got something right here. It's called a cam link. I know that's a little bit twisted right here. There's a Camlink 4K, that's a dongle that takes an HDMI input and it just goes through USB into my camera. Okay? Into my computer, sorry about that. Now, you could have just a pure USB coming out of your computer out of your camera into your computer, but guess what? That makes the computer do a lot more processing. I like to offload that onto the dongle here. So the dongle gets a little bit hot, but you know, it tends to be worth it, I think. Okay? I've got another mic here, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but let's talk about this baby. What is going on here? This Shure SM7B is a really super quiet mic. And you know, if I'm talking into the mic right now, or if I'm talking away from the mic, the voice changes, right? Now, the trouble with that, well, maybe not trouble, but it's an XLR cable that comes out of it. It's not just like a USB thing you just plug and play, right? So I go through this thing, this Zoom F6, no confusion with the actual Zoom software we're also using, but this is a preamp that's basically taking that signal, it's boosting it, and then it's sending it out through a USB input into the computer, okay? There are other options. You see a DBX 286S over there, along with a Scarletti something, whatever up there. Those had a lot of hiss in them, and I actually stopped, sorry about that, I actually stopped using those. So this one is super quiet and super nice. Kind of expensive too. Okay, that's that. Oh, by the way, about the dongles, I'll show you this later, but you can easily get like a cheap knockoff one that's, you know, a tenth of the price that works almost as good. The lights, let's talk about these. So, well, there's a lot of lights in this room. First of all, I've got some lights up there. It's all burned out, or it's too bright on the iPhone. It doesn't really look proper, but nevertheless, I've got lights up here. I've got one right here, which I can control temperature of. Lights right there. I've got a head light that kind of makes my head pop a little bit, like a little ring around it, so to speak. But the main ones are right here. These are imitating the sun. These are from Waveform lighting, and I'm going to show you inside here. You're going to laugh when you see this. This is so DIY. Look at that, like just attaching, cutting these little LED strips. Can I get in there? I can get in there. Oh, I haven't seen in there in so long. Some are actually coming off the adhesive strips. But nevertheless, this light is really good. It looks like sunlight. Now, you're seeing strips because of the way the iPhone is actually compensating for exposure in real time. Look at that. It's kind of weird, isn't it? But nevertheless, this is CRI 99, which basically imitates the spectrum of the sun. The temperature is 5000 K. The temperature of all these lights is 5000 K in the room. So I have a consistent temperature for my lighting. Okay, so enough of that. There's a few things over here which I'm going to talk about by holding them up to the camera. So goodbye, iPhone. And hello everyone on Zoom again. So here's what I was going to do right now. Go through the websites for some of the things that I've been talking about. So let's talk about the camera itself. Right here we've got a Canon 5D EOS 5D Mark IV. Yeah, retailing for like $2,700. That's a lot of money, right? I think that's probably roughly what I paid for mine. I use it also for just taking pictures and stuff, so I get a lot of use out of it. You could easily though, however, pick up one of these. This is the previous model I had from like 2008, I think I bought it. This is a Mark II version of the same thing. On Zoom, you're not gonna notice any difference whatsoever, okay? And these ones you can get used. If I go to the next page here, I was just looking at Amazon for this, like $400, probably cheaper on eBay or something. You can shop around. You may even have one already somewhere, right? The key thing is just, you know, within the last 10 or 15 years, any digital camera like that should have the proper output. HDMI or USB would be fine. Okay, now the key thing here is the lens. Right? This lens, this might not seem like a big deal, but I've chosen a 50mm lens, a prime lens, such that I can set the focus. I'm not zooming here at all. And the way it is, the distance I'm working at, 50mm has very little distortion because and when I say distortion, it's what your eye would pretty much be seeing if you were there. Okay, so this lens, ow, look at that price tag, ouch. Yeah, I've spent a lot of money on equipment, haven't I? Anyway, but nevertheless, you can find a similar one that's much, much cheaper. One of these you could get probably for 100, 150 bucks. I actually sold a used one for about 125 bucks. So they're definitely out there, you know, again, eBay, Amazon, wherever you find your used lenses. Okay, let's talk about the dongle. Yeah, I'm using a Camlink 4K. This one retails for like, what is it, $129. But again, you go to Amazon, you can shop around and find, you know, $16.99. Not really that much difference. The biggest problem I would say is the potential for like a latency in the image lagging, because this is doing some processing. And well, you want that to be fast, right? I didn't notice any problem with this one. Zaluke. not a brand that rolls off the tongue, but nevertheless, that one was fine. I did notice the color was a little bit sort of like oversaturated, but I'm colorblind, red-green colorblind, so didn't really bother me. My wife said it wasn't all that good though. So in terms of that part of the color compared to the Camlink, but it's a lot better than like the normal camera on your computer or something. Okay. Anyway, okay, let's continue on here. Oh, by the way, if you don't want to be using a dongle, then you can always try to use just regular USB through something like OBS Studio. I have always run into some synchronicity issues here with voice and image. I don't have that with the current setup. So OBS is great, a lot of people use it, but for live Zoom stuff, I haven't been using it. Okay, let's talk about the mic. Okay, so I've got this SM7B. This is, oh, Michael Jackson used this to record Thriller mic. Everyone talks about that. Well, guess what? I'm not Michael Jackson, but I do have a dog over there. I do have 3 teenagers in the house like bashing stuff around all the time. You probably aren't hearing anything. And that's because this mic is super unidirectional. I'm gonna pick it up right here, I'm gonna talk into it, and then I'm gonna twist it a little bit, and you're gonna hear how my voice is changing. I'm gonna keep talking the same exact way, and you're like, whoa. So everything that's like right here happening in front of the mic, and if I pull it really far away like this, I got a lot quieter, I bet. Now, it's hard to exactly say because Zoom is doing a lot of, pardon me, corrections to make my voice level right now, but nevertheless, this is a really good mic if you're working in a place where you've got some sound going on and don't want other people to hear it. Trouble with this mic is that it's super quiet and therefore you need to boost it a lot. And if you have some sort of preamp, like the one I was talking about, that 286S, whatever it was, it's like this, like the snakes are coming, you know, Indiana Jones, why did it have to be snakes? This sound. I don't like that. Especially, you know, I don't know why I don't like that, but I don't like that. So I got this right here. This is the Zoom F6. It's just an incredible recorder. It's a little bit pricey though. It's about $700. Ooch, that's a lot of money, isn't it? Yeah. So one alternative that you can go for here, and I had showed you before, like in front of me, was this Blue Yeti mic. What I'm going to do right now is in Zoom, I'm going to shift from my Shure mic to my Blue Yeti mic. So I'm talking right now and I'm shifting right now. Okay, so I went to the Blue Yeti. Do you hear any difference? It should sound pretty good. Okay, it may even sound better to you. I'm not sure, but that mic is right out here. It's about an arm's length away. I can't lift it off, just outside of the view of the camera. But nevertheless, let me go back to the Shure mic just so you can hear the difference there. And excuse me, there it is. Okay, so we're back to this mic right now. And let me actually play the computer's sound, because this is probably what most people are probably using by default. And hopefully you'll hear a difference here. Let me shift to my MacBook Pro microphone. Okay, so how is that? I got the fans kind of spinning because, you know, I got a lot of stuff going on. Got 4 different USB things coming in. It picks up that fan sound a little bit more. Okay. Also, you can use these AirPods for a microphone. I'm not a huge fan of that sound though. It's doing a lot of work and it's canceling out a lot of things. Doesn't sound quite as good to me as shifting back here to the good old Shure SM7B. You like it, huh? So do I. Okay, and out of frame, I like it that way too. Okay, back to this here. Oh, yeah, so one really important thing for good sound, believe it or not, is not allowing other sounds into your mic. And in the Zoom case, that often means like other people speaking at you from your computer. Your speaker will be your computer itself might be the mic. That's, you know, Zoom is doing its best to try to like block out that stuff, but it's like the equivalent of fixing something in post, but it's happening real time. And there's definitely a compromise of audio quality. So what I like to do, I used to have this, just like a little, what is it called? Earpiece, I guess. Earphone, earpiece. I had cut one of them off because I didn't like it dangling there, and I only want one in. Oh, by the way, that's another thing. I only put one in at a time because I don't know how you are, but like I don't like that feeling when I'm teaching or talking to other people of being like totally in that other place. Like I'm still human. I'm still in this room right here that you just saw, but I have an ear in the other world also. So to me, that sort of balance really is best for me. So I used to use one of these, but the trouble is like I'm moving around and it pops out and it's just a cord and gravity pulls it and So Apple came up with these. There's a lot of other brands. I love these. I'll just pop one in, right here. Does it look cool? Does it look not cool? I'm not sure, but nevertheless, it's really unintrusive. Actually, you know what? Let me see if I can play the sound through this one, through the mic here. It didn't. Oh, there it is. Let me see here in Zoom. Here's what the mic sounds like. Okay, I'm on the AirPods right now. Sounds different, right? That's why I don't use them. But yeah, it sounds good. It definitely is a distinct sound. It sounds a little canny to me, like I'm in a container somewhere. So back again to, hopefully, you hear that? The real mic. Okay, so goodbye earpiece. But the key point is, if you got to have something where the sound from the people you're talking to do not go through your mic. They go through your ear directly, and nobody can hear that but you. Okay, continuing on here. Oh, so that was the AirPods. Yeah, ooh, they're a little bit pricey, aren't they? You can find them used, or you can get a cheaper one, or just the, again, DIY trimmed up one. All right. Oh, by the way, I don't even know why I'm mentioning this, but if you do want to listen afterwards to things that you are publishing, not like a Zoom recording, but actual things, these ones, I'll give you the number. It's the MDR 7506 headphones by Sony. It's like $100, but man, they are really, really good. They're just like sort of the pure sound, no equalization, anything going on. You can hear every sort of like lip smack and table thump to make sure you edit that out, if that's your thing. Last thing I want to show here is about lighting. I love these lights. Okay, I mean, I've spent so much time. Waveform, look at this, 28 reviews, they're all perfect. And Waveform is not like going through and saying like, okay, don't post negative reviews. They are incredible. The spectrum on these things, it looks like sunlight, okay? But they're a little bit pricey. So those two panels I showed you, I had some boards, I taped them on with adhesive tape. I put this like Japanese paper over them, it's to like diffuse things. Oh my God, I am so far down this rabbit hole. But it's fun, right? Anyway, I got two of these. So that's, it's on sale, $275 right now. You look at $500 for that, just right there. They last though, and they're really super nice looking light. I got the 500 Kelvin because my skin looks best with 500 Kelvin. The camera's also set to 500, as are all the other lights in the room. Okay? Oh, one last thing about glasses. You see that? There's a little reflection right there. I'm looking at myself in the thing there. But there's very little reflection. So, my eyes, 51 years old, they're not as good as they used to be, especially for reading, right? So I need these glasses on. First pair of glasses I had were super reflective. And you could see me during the Zoom meeting doing my email while I'm bored or something. So get the anti-reflective ones. It's like extra $100 or something, but you're not going to be zooming and enhancing on my glasses. Or if you are, it ain't gonna work. Okay, last thing I wanted to talk about is bringing this home to the first thing I was saying about the connection that you make with students. So for me, I teach classes at Harvard, CS50, also one in the business school and HBAP program for Professor David Malin, right? And we got some swag. I get this thing that says staff, right? This color works pretty well for me, I think, with my skin tone and my background and stuff. So students see that, they probably think like, wow, I want to be a TF too, a teaching fellow someday too. So I like that. But ultimately, the real inspiration is, and here comes the big reveal, nothing bad, but Illinois. Okay, so I'm an Illinois grad. That's where I'm from. That's where I did my undergrad and master's. And there was a professor, John Liebman. I tagged him on LinkedIn. John, if you're there, thank you so much for the following moment that really affected me as a young sophomore. It was February, it was cold, it was a month into our class on planning and optimization of civil engineering systems. Professor Liebman had no idea who I was, I thought. 130 people in the class, and one day I was going into Newmark Lab on campus there. I opened up the door and he was coming through the door. I opened the door for him, and he looked at me and he said, "Hey Tom, how you doing?" And at that moment, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. How did he know my name? And then we became friends, and it was incredible. So all this talk about, ISO 1000 at f4.0 with a Camlink 4K dongle, it's all BS if you don't make a connection with your student. So this is all serving you, ultimately. Having like a nice background, having a decent voice. Things will take away distraction and make you pop a little bit more, but it's on you to make that connection to your students. Okay, so any questions, please put them in the comments below. I'll be happy to fire up some new videos and talk through some more things. I know there's a lot of questions out there, but thanks for watching so far, and talk to you later. Bye-bye.